Hey guys, welcome to another 72 DPI video. Today we're going to be learning to play the 1 to 4 player game Dinosaur Island. This was designed by Jonathan Gilmore and Brian Lewis. It's a fantastic worker placement with a little bit of drafting involved game where you're building your own Jurassic Park. You're kitting out the different attractions, splicing together DNA to build to bring dinosaurs back from the dead and breed dinosaurs, all in an effort to attract the most visitors to your park and gain victory points to win the game. So as you can tell from the actual table here, it's a pretty large game. There's a lot of different components, there's a lot of different boards, but it's pretty easy to set up. It takes a while to set up, but it's pretty easy to set up. Gameplay is pretty straightforward in the sense that they've got everything kind of mapped out for you and labeled very, very well. So I will give them credit for that. But the first thing you want to do before you get started putting anything together is you want to make sure you know how many players you've got playing, because that's going to kind of change around the different components that you're going to be using. So let's take a look at that first. We've got a 2-player game set up, so we'll get rid of the solo cards. We won't be using those. And then also we've got 2 sets of cards here. You've got these lab upgrades, and then you've got these park upgrade cards. And we'll talk more about these specifically as we get into it. But you want to look here, you've got a 3-person and a 4-person. You want to remove those if you're playing with 2 people, which we are. So if you're playing with 3, you can keep 3 and drop the 4s. Or if you're playing with 4 players, you can go ahead and just keep all the cards in. Likewise for your upgrades for your lab, there's a 3 and a 4 listed here, so we're going to get rid of those as well. So after you've got those removed from the game, then you're going to want to look at what length of game you want to play. So over here you've got objective cards for a short game, a medium game, and a long game. So you want to decide which one you want to go with. So right now we've only played short games with 3 players. This lasted about an hour and a half or so. Keep in mind, we're fairly new to this game, so you could probably get it down to under an hour if you're quick, but about an hour for the short game. So we're going to go ahead and ditch the medium and the long games. Those cards are going to go away. So now we're left with just the short game stack, and then you've got your plot twist stack here. The other thing that you're going to look at, depending on the number of players, is your dice. These are the DNA dice. The game comes with 10. Depending on how many players have, you're going to take that number times 2 plus 1. So we're playing with 2 players, so we're playing with 2 dice each, so it'd be 4, and then plus an additional 1. So for a game of 2, you'll be playing with 5 dice. You want to make sure that every player has a 2 game boards. So you have one that says phase 3 and one that says phase 4. So those will be set out, and you'll be setting those apart with a little bit of a space in between the center. We'll talk about that space here in a little bit. You've got your worker guys. These are the colored characters with the little hat that kind of look like safari people. There's 9 of them in total. You will take 4 and put on your game board. And then you'll take another set of 4. They'll go off your game board. Those will be for purchasing additional workers later on down the line. And then your 9th one will go over here on the turn order board. We'll talk about that here in a second as well. So then you're also going to take all of the colored cubes of your character color, and you'll put 3 of them in the 1 slot on the basic DNA, and then 3 of them in the 0 slot for the advanced. You'll add 1 to the threat tracker under number 1, and then 1 under the tracker for your security level under number 1. Then you'll have 2 more left. 1 will go over here on the excitement level at number 1, and then the victory points you start at 10, so your last one will go there. You'll also grab 6 of the black cubes, and they go in these grayed out parts here. So for the basic, you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so they go in the 4 slot. For the advanced slot, they go 0, 1, 2, they go in the 2 slot, and we'll talk about that in a second. You'll want to grab the color tokens, cardboard tokens for your character, for your color type. So for the red character, they're red. For the blue character, they are blue. Then you'll also want to grab each player a hexagon with the 1, 2, 3. These are your scientists. So each one will have the logo on the back and then 1, 2, 3 on the other side. So then you're also going to want to grab the 2 tokens, the +10, +20 in the yellow and the purple, and then the white and the red. They're double-sided, +10 on one side, +20 on the other. We'll talk about those in a minute. So that's the setup for your main board there. The sideboard here is pretty straightforward. You just grab one of your little dinosaur guys. You want to keep a supply of these close by because you'll be purchasing these guys and generating dinosaurs throughout the game, so keep those close by. But you start with one dinosaur, which is nice. You're going to go ahead and put him in a paddock right here, which is the first one there. So those are your game boards. They're all set up. So the next part is the phase 1 board. So that's over on this side. You got your DNA dice right here. You can line those up just like that. And then you have your herbivores, your small carnivores, and your large carnivores. Go ahead and give those a good shuffle. And then you'll flip over the top one of each stack. Then for phase 2, this is where you've got this vertical blue board. You've got 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they're basically rows right here where you'll be placing the different components that you can purchase throughout the game. So you got a stack of, these are just kind of general upgrades for your lab. So you got Dino Research 2. That matches up with Dino Research 1 right here. Those are all 4 the same. And then you've got DNA Refinement 2, which will overlap DNA Refinement 1 when you get that upgrade. So those just go in the spots listed on the phase 2 board. Also on the phase 2 board, we have our deck of specialists. So these are the cards that have the characters and then the names and then their abilities. So you give those a good shuffle and place those there. And then you've got the attractions. So these are like your rides, your food, and your clothing, things like that. The upgrades that you can put in your park that don't interact with the dinosaurs. And then you've got your lab upgrades. These get shuffled up and put right here. So what you'll do to finish this setup for the phase 2 board is you'll go ahead and grab 4 of each one of these and you'll place them in a column. The lab upgrades go first. Those can go in any order, it doesn't matter. The attractions, they'll need to be placed, there's going to be 4 of them, but you're going to place them in order as far as how much they cost. And this is only done for the very beginning of the round. So if you look down here in the bottom, it gives you a coin value. That's what you're going to want to look at when you're setting this up. So we've got 7, 3, 3, 9. So we'll put the 3s at the top, 7 in the 3rd slot, and the 9 at the bottom. If there's a tie like we have here, it doesn't matter which one goes which. You can decide for yourself. And we'll talk about those in just a second. And then you take 4 of the actual specialist cards here and lay those out like so. So see, you've got the 2 row, the 3 row, the 4 row, and then the 5 row. Each has a lab upgrade, each has a park upgrade for an attraction, and then a specialist available. So that's the setup for the phase 2 board. The turn order board, we've already kind of set this up. Each player starts with one of their cubes on the excitement track at level 1, and then level 10 for victory points, they start there. And then you can determine random order for player count. This will be changing throughout the game, so don't get too attached to your placement. So each person gets placed on a different turn order number. So at the beginning of the game, you're also going to get money. So the player 1 is going to get 15 coin, and then player 2 is going to get 16 coin, and then player 3 would get 17, player 4 would get 18 in that fashion. So then you want to make sure that you have the dinosaur minis and then also the money tokens kind of at a space where everybody can reach. Usually off to the side is good. You can make multiple piles if you're playing with more than 2 people. You'll want to make sure that you have your dinosaur green bag here, this felt bag. This is where you'll put all of the purple and the yellow visitors. All of those guys will go in here. So there's quite a few of them. Those will all go in here. You've got your upgrades as far as your paddocks go. So If you look at our player board, this one will support one dinosaur. You can use these to upgrade, so you've got 2, 3, and 4 spaces. So then you'll set those aside. Those are available for people to purchase throughout the game. And then the last token is the player 1 token. So you keep the turn order up here, but this will also give you an idea of where player 1 is at. So that's the setup for all the different boards. The only thing left to do is to grab our objectives. This too is determined by how many players you have. So you'll take the number of players and then add 1, and that's how many objectives you'll take. The rest of them you can return to the box. So then we've got our 3 cards that we'll go ahead and place here for our objectives. This basically will trigger the ending round once 2 of these have been claimed. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Each of them have their own objectives, so we'll talk about that here in just a minute. As far as the plot twist deck goes, you want to select 2 of these, no matter how many players you're playing with. You'll want to flip these over face up, and these kind of change the rules of the game a little bit, kind of give everything a little bit of a fresher look. The one thing you want to be cautious of, though, there are some that overlap and some that contradict each other, so you want to be cautious of that. For example, these two change the number of specialists you can have in your park and working for you at a time. So this one lets you have only a maximum of 1, while this one lets you have +1 to the limit of 3, so you can have 4. So you'll want to make sure that you're not using two plot twists that contradict each other. So if they do, just discard 1 and draw another one. So the nice thing about this game is everything's broken down into phases, just like any other game, but they actually write it on the boards where you're kind of focused on. So phase 1 starts here, phase 2 is here, 3 is your own board, and 4 is your park itself. So let's go ahead and dive into the game. So the game's broken up into 4 phases, and each one of these is a board in itself. So we'll kind of go over each one by itself and kind of talk about how it's going to be played, and then we'll play around to show you guys. So phase 1 is going to be the research phase. So we're going to be focused on this board right here. At the beginning of the round, you'll go ahead and take player 1. We'll go ahead and take all the dice. We'll go ahead and roll them all, and you'll place your dice here. There's little individual squares for them to be placed. This is where you'll use your scientists. So you've got 1, 2, and 3. So if you kind of look at this board, you can do a couple different things. Number 1, you can place your hexagon with your scientists below any one of these dice to claim that DNA. To do so, you'll just take your 1, 2, or 3 and place it underneath. That means you're claiming that DNA, and then you come over to your player board here and you increase your DNA for that specific one by 1. For a 1 level scientist. Now you can also use your level 2 instead to double up that single face. So instead of getting 1 DNA of the purple, I will now get 2. So as you increase your DNA, you'll notice that you've got the black cubes here. That's actually the level cap that you cannot pass. So right now I am stuck with 2 purple DNA. I can't go any higher than that until I upgrade that to a higher level, and then I can unlock higher capacity for that specific DNA. So the scientists will multiply whatever face that they're on. You'll also notice that the dice themselves have some extra multipliers here. So this one has 2 showing of the blue. So I can put a 1 on there and get 2, or I put the 3 up there and grab 6 of that 1 DNA. However, since the black cube is at the 4 slot, I can't get any more than 3 DNA. So that would stop there, even though I put the 3 there. There are some faces here that might be a little bit different than what we see there. So this face is the green advanced DNA. And then this right here will allow you to select any one of the 3 advanced DNA. So there's a couple dice faces that don't depict the DNA that you see down here on your phase 3 board. So a couple of those are this is a Paddock, so you would have to use your level 3 scientist to claim this, and basically what that will do for you is allow you to upgrade one of your Paddocks to the next level for free. So that we would go from 1 to 2 paddocks, and then you would still put your dinosaur back on top. Again, you have to use your level 3 for that, no matter what, and you just get 1 upgrade for that. A similar dice face would be one that has the worker face on it. You still have to use your level 3, but this basically just unlocks another worker for you, so you can add that to your available workers for the remainder of the game. The other one to look at here is this dice face here. It works very similar to this one, whereas this one is for the advanced DNA, this one is for the basic DNA. So you can choose any one of the basic DNA for that. So the other thing that you'll notice is these little pips on each of the dice. You've got one that has 2, 3, and then there's also one that has 1. Some of the dice faces have 0. That's something that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but just be mindful of that. It doesn't affect what you're buying or what you're purchasing, but it will affect the game later on down the road. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So that's the DNA up at the top here. You can also use your scientists to purchase DNA strands of the specific dinosaurs. So you've got 3 facing up here. You've got 1, 2, and 3 on the phase 1 board. So if you want to claim this Stegosaurus, you have to put your 1 here, and then you take the Stegosaurus and you're going to put it in your park. So when you put a paddock on your park, on your phase 4 park, you have to put it horizontal, and it cannot cover up an existing piece of equipment, or it cannot cover up a printed piece here. So you can't go and put the Stegosaurus site on top of your hat site. You can disregard the bridges and then the roads. Those don't mean anything. They're just there for the graphics. So you can put these in any different place that you want. You cannot put them vertical like this. They have to go horizontal. So that's how you purchase the dinosaur DNA paddocks. So then the other thing that you can do during this phase is expand your cold storage. This allows you to increase the black cubes on your phase 3 board. So, and this works the same way as the dice do. If I use 1, you can increase 1 black dice 1 space. If I use a 2, I can increase. I've got 2 upgrades, so you can increase the same 1 twice, or I can increase 2 different ones. This will also let you increase the advance. It doesn't matter. Or if you want to go ahead, you can use your 3. And that'll let you push 3 up, or you can any sum of 3. The other thing that you could do with your scientists this phase is put them down here in the pass cube. So what this will let you do is when you pass, it'll put your scientists down here with your workers, essentially giving you an additional worker for that round. If you pass once, you can continue with the other scientists later on. So if you, let's say, it's your first round, it's your first turn, and you put pass down, you don't lose out on the second and third scientists. You can still buy stuff, you can still bid on the DNA, you can still increase your cold storage, all that stuff. Just because you pass doesn't mean you're done for that phase. So this phase will begin with player 1. They can put down any one of their scientists, 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't matter what order they go in. So you'll go through the turn order 3 separate times, making 3 purchases on phase 1. That'll lead us into phase 2, which is the market phase. What you're going to be doing is looking strictly right here, making purchases with your coin that you've earned throughout the game. And there's a couple different ways to look at this. So the first thing is these main kind of generic upgrades right here. You've got Dino Research for $3, and you've got DNA Refinement level 2 for $5. So if you purchase one of these, you basically take the money and put it in the supply, take your change, and then you'll put it on your player board. So the Dino Research 2 only can go over top of the Dino Research 1, likewise for the DNA Research. These 2 cannot be upgraded anywhere else on your player board, just in these 2 spots. Once you've got it upgraded, you can't purchase any additional ones. So then the actual drafting portion here, again, $2 for each one of these, except for the park upgrades. You want to also include the price of the upgrade itself. So to purchase the postcards attraction, you're going to be paying 3 plus the 2 here. Likewise with the actual upgrade, lab upgrades, you'll just be paying the 2. There are no additional costs there. There's no additional cost for the specialist either. The attractions are the only thing that have that additional cost. So when you're purchasing these different upgrades, you want to look at a couple different things. So number 1, they each have their own different ability, and I'm not going to go through each and every one of them because they all do something different. If you look in the instruction manual, there's a lot of explanation on specific ones of the upgrades themselves, but they're pretty self-explanatory. So when you make this purchase, let's say we're going to go with the renovation committee. This will let you upgrade a paddock capacity by 1 at no cost. So you would take this upgrade and place it under one of your constructions, or you can overlap with one of these. Obviously, at the beginning of the game, you want to go ahead and take advantage of these free spaces so that you have access to all of your pieces of your lab. So likewise with the park attractions, you purchase one, put your money into the bank, and then you'll take it and place it on your game board for phase 4. The attractions are all 1 square, so you can put them anywhere you want throughout your entire park. You'll keep in mind there are some victory points that are associated with those. Those you don't score until the very end of the game. And then also you've got some different icons down here. We'll talk about those when we get to phase 4. So let's just say we go ahead and purchase this Raptor Nuggets attraction. So the other thing that you can do here is on the actual printed board here. So you could spend 2 coin and get 2 basic DNA, but you also then have to discard one of these 3 from this row. Likewise, $3 will get you 3 of any basic DNA, discarding one of these. $4 gets you 1 advanced DNA, then ditching one of these, and then $5 gets you 2 advanced DNA, ditching one of these. So you can do this for both of your purchases, or do this for 1 and then purchase one of these upgrades. It's completely up to you. You can also pass. You do not have to purchase anything if you don't want to. If you choose not to purchase something, you get 2 coins from the supply added to your pool. And again, just like the passing for the phase 1, if you pass and take the 2 coin, you can still get your second buy. So you can choose to pass twice and get 4 coin for that turn. Okay, so that brings us to phase 3. This is the worker phase. This is where you will take all your workers that you've earned, so the 4 workers that you start with, and then any of the scientists that you've added to the pass pile here, those will be added as workers as well. So let's just take our 4 workers that we have here, and you can use them in any fashion on your board here. So as you're upgrading these lab upgrades, you'll place them on top of these 4 different sections. There's 2 that are under construction that you can place first. However, if you want to make another upgrade, you can place it over top of one that you've upgraded here, or that you can upgrade on this side as well. So the other thing that you have access to purchase is one of the specialists. So again, you'll just pick one that you want to buy, and then you'll pay the amount in that row. You'll add it to the center column here in between your 2 boards. For this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my player board. You'll only be making 2 purchases during this phase each round, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and add this to my board just to give you some explanation. So the specialists, they all do different things. There's a couple duplicates, so keep an eye out for that. If you see a line with a person over top of it, this means you get to add a worker from your supply to your actual worker pool. That happens with this character as soon as you purchase them. Underneath the line tells you what the ongoing effect is going to be. This one says you may place 1 lab upgrade on this card. When you get to your next purchase, you're going to have to cover up one of these spaces here. Instead, with this person, with the lab designer, you can go ahead and put the lab upgrade over top of this. And also keep in mind, if you purchase a lab upgrade, this works kind of similar to the specialist. When you have something that's written in green, that automatically happens right then and there as soon as you purchase it. So for example, this one says increase your security level by 1 at no cost. So you would take your security level cube and go down 1. It wouldn't cost you anything. So once you cover these up, you no longer have that ability. So you want to make sure that you're tracking what you're gaining and what you're losing throughout the game. So for example, if I were to purchase this lab upgrade and cover up this upgrade, I would no longer get the ability to upgrade a paddock at no cost. Similar, if I had this one down first and I increased my security at no cost, so I increased it when I purchased it, if I cover that up, I got to remember to take that security away. So something to keep in mind when you're upgrading these to make sure that you're keeping an eye on of what you're gaining and losing. The same thing goes with the specialist. If you have 3 specialists and you go to buy your 4th, you have to get rid of one of the 3 originally. If you get rid of one that has your +1 worker, remember to take one of your workers and put them back to the supply. So that brings us to our phase 3. This is the worker phase. This is where you'll go ahead and place your different workers from your worker board onto your board itself and give you an idea of what this is going to look like. So we've got our 4 that we started with, plus the 1 that we got from the lab designer. You'll look at the board and you've got a couple different places that you can interact with the board. So if you see just a tile that has 1 space, you can add your 1 worker to that space and then do what is on that lab upgrade. If there's only 1 space, you can only do that one thing 1 time. So for example, the DNA refinement, I can only do this once because there's only 1 square that has a worker. And this basically allows me to take 2 DNA and refine it into 1 advanced DNA. So for example, if I wanted to take my green or my blue and my purple, I could take those down 1 and I gain a green advanced. So I take 2 down and 1 up. There's 1 for each of the different advanced, so you can kind of change around what you need and how you're going to interact with your dinosaurs and generating the different DNA to create those dinosaurs. These all have a whole bunch of different abilities. The other thing that you're going to see on here is a cube that says unlimited. This lets you put as many workers on there as you want, as long as you can pay for the upgrade itself. So this one, tool bench, for example, says upgrade a paddock capacity or increase security by 1. So if we wanted to update a paddock, so this one is currently a 2. If we want to update that, we'd have to spend 3 coin to upgrade it to a level 3, as well as place a worker on that upgrade. The other section here is your threat level and your security level. So let's go ahead and talk about that right now. To make the upgrade to your security level, you'd have to place a worker here on the unlimited for the tool bench, and then you would upgrade the 1 space. Now there is a cost associated with this. So the 1 and 2 cost 1 to upgrade, the 3, 4 cost 2, the 5, 6 cost 3, 7, 8, and so forth. Now once you get to 10, you are able to upgrade past 10. You would just take the marker, the upgrade marker, the purple and the yellow plus 10 side first. So you put that there, and then you would go back to 1. So that would be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on. Keeping in mind, when you get past the 10 mark, every upgrade that you do from there on out is 5 coins. So you would just disregard the 1 coin that's printed here for the 1 and 2, 3 and 4. When you're at 11 and 12, it costs you 5 coin to upgrade. It costs you 5 to upgrade to 3 and 4, and so on all the way down the line. If you get all the way down to 10, you can flip your token over, and now you've got 20. So it'll be 20, 21, 22, 23 in that fashion. Your threat marker, on the other hand, this threat level is determined by your park. So during phase 1, if you had purchased a dinosaur paddock and placed it in your park, you see a little red dot here. This would indicate that your threat level is going to increase whenever you put a dinosaur inside that paddock. Now when you purchase the actual paddock itself, it doesn't come with any dinosaurs, so your threat level does not increase. So however, what does is when you create a dinosaur. So during your worker phase, if you take one of your workers and place them on the create 1 dinosaur, you can take a look at the cost of the dinosaur's DNA. So we need 1 blue, 1 of the pink, and then 1 of the green. So we got 1 blue, we need 1 of the pink, and then 1 of the green, and then we can create the Stegosaurus. So you take 1 of the little miniatures from the supply, place it in that paddock, and then your threat level is going to go up by 1. So then you would take it from 1 to 2. The other thing that's going to happen is you've got a number inside of the black triangle with the green outline. That's going to tell you how much your excitement level is going to go up. So when we bred the Stegosaurus, our excitement level goes up 2. So you would take your cube and go up 2 spaces. So what does that mean as far as your security level? Well, you want to make sure that your security level is at least at or greater than your threat level. So if you're at 2, 3, 4, 5, or so on, then you've got nothing to worry about. However, later on in the game, if your security level is less than your threat level, then the dinosaurs will break free. And then they start eating people. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing that you want to keep in mind for during this phase is the dice that was not purchased. We talked about those little red dots over here on the dice. Any leftover dice that have a red pip, you want to take the greatest number of red pips available, and you're going to move that over here to the threat level. And what that's going to do is it's going to temporarily increase the threat level for that round. So if your threat level is a 2 because you've upgraded to your Stegosaurus, actually for this round it's at a 4 because you've got 2 red pips here. So if you have 1 red pip, then it would have been a 3, or if you had something that had a 0 on it like this, then it would just be what your threat level is. Now this is going to be true for every player on the board, so while your threat level on the board here might be different from the player next to you or across from you, this is going to be true for everybody. So everybody's going to add 2 pips to their threat level for this round. Again, this is something that you just add to your threat. You don't actually move the cube. This is just temporarily added for this round. So next round, when you make all your purchases and when you collect your DNA, that dice might be different. It might be higher, it might be lower. Okay, so then after you've made all your purchases, you've got a couple different options, and like I said, I'm not going to go over everything. So the other things that you can purchase here, so you've also got printed on here, collect money from the bank. You've got a space for 3, 2, 1. You can put individual workers on all of these, one of these, some of these. Whichever one, it doesn't matter which one you put it in, you'll get the amount of coin for that square. So if you put one on 3, you'll collect 3 coin from the bank and then put it into your pile. Likewise, you can put, if you need 1 coin, you can do that as well. As long as you've got workers to spare, you can add coins. So the other thing that you want to look at is on this upgrade, we'll take a look at this Paddock upgrade. You've got, like we talked about before, a single worker space here, but you also have a single worker with a ×2 on it. That means if you want to do this upgrade during the worker phase, you got to take 2 workers and place it on that. So the first one is only going to cost you 1, and then you could upgrade a Paddock. You obviously don't have to pay for it because that's what it says. But if you want to do it a second time this round, you could take 2 and upgrade it a second time. So phase 3 happens at the same time. Everybody gets to place their workers and carry out all those actions at the same time. You don't necessarily have to go in turn order. For the first game, we did go through it to make sure everybody was doing it correctly, and if there's any questions, it was just nice to have that type of repetition. So, but just know that this can be done simultaneously. So after you've made all your purchases and made all your upgrades in phase 3, we're going to switch over to phase 4, which is the park phase. And the first thing you're going to do is, starting with player 1 in turn order, you're going to take the dinosaur bag that's got all the different visitors in it, and based on the excitement level of your current park, you're going to go ahead and pull that many individual visitors out. And you're going to go ahead and place them right in front of your park here. So I have an excitement level of 3, so I drew 3 guys out here. So there are 2 different types of visitors. So you have the regular visitor, which is yellow, and then you've got a pink one, which is called a hooligan. If you draw a hooligan, they're going to go to the front of the line, and they're going to get placed in your park before the regular visitors. On your different attractions and dinosaur exhibits, you're going to see these 4 little squares. So, or as an example of this attraction, you'll have 3, 2, or 1. So it just depends on what that attraction is. So you're able to place 1 visitor per square on that space. With the dinosaur exhibits, you can only place 1 visitor per dinosaur. So we upgraded this paddock to level 3. Had we had an additional dinosaur in there, we can then place 2 visitors in that space. But since we didn't actually breed a second dinosaur for that space, we can only have 1 visitor in there. So keep in mind, again, you have to go ahead and place your different visitors in here, starting with the hooligans. Now, when it comes to placing your actual workers, you get $1 per visitor that comes in, except for the hooligans. So when I place all my guys in here, no matter how many I have, I gain that many coin, whether they made it into the park or not. So just for example, for this particular layout, I've got space for 3 people on this attraction, my raptor nuggets, and then I've got space for 1 person here, 1 person here, and then everybody has a printed space for hats. So I have a total of 6 spaces available. Now, had my excitement level been 7, there would have been 1 extra guy sitting outside the park. Now, in this example right here, I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would get 6 coin from the bank itself. That goes into my purse. And then I would not get 1 coin for the hooligan. Now, you've completed that portion of the park phase. Now it's time to assess the threat level. So looking at our current threat level versus our security level, we've got a threat level of 2 plus then the 2 that was on the threat level dice here. So that's a threat level of 4, and our security level is only 1. So the difference makes up how many different visitors that you lose. Now, the one thing with the hooligans is not only do they not pay you to get in, they also don't die easily either. So you have to remove your visitors equal to the difference of between your threat level and your security level. So in this case, I lose 3 visitors. Based on the visitors that you lose, that will determine how many victory points you lose. So I will go down to 7 for losing 3 different visitors for that round. After this point is over, that would be the end of the round. All the different visitors and the hooligans go back into the bag for the supply. You will then, on the phase 2 board here, you will take and remove anything at the $2 level. Remove that from the game. Move everything up as far as it'll go. And then refresh everything from the supply. So you'll put an additional lab upgrades, and then also attractions will fill out that section there, and then you'll draw additional specialists to fill that out. After that's done, everybody will collect their various scientists. The dice will go back. Any purchased DNA or paddocks will get flipped over. The top of the deck will get flipped over. Your workers will go back. Your threat level and security level will stay the same. Any upgrades that you've made, that all stays the same. Your specialists, those all stay the same. Nothing else moves on this front. As far as the turn order goes, that's the last thing that you're to determine. And that will basically look at whoever is last in the victory points will go first. And then carrying on from there will go whoever's in second, third, and fourth. If there's a tie, then the 2 characters don't change orders in relationship to each other. That usually only comes into effect when you're playing more than 2 people, for example. So the game ends when all but one of the objectives have been claimed. And the way you claim an objective is by first completing the task that is listed on it, and then once you do, you place a token on that particular objective. That means claiming it for yourself. No one else can claim that objective unless they complete it in the same round. So for example, this objective says have 12 DNA in cold storage. So that means you would have to have 12 DNA in cold storage to be able to claim that objective for your own. Now, if multiple players get that same objective done in the same round, then multiple people can put their token on top of there, claiming it for themselves as well. So at the end of the game, it would give that player 6 victory points to go onto their board. So like I said, once there is only one objective left, that triggers the last round that you're in. Players will finish out what they've done for that round, and then at the very end, after your park phase, then you will count up victory points, and whoever has the most victory points at the end of the round wins the game. So there's a couple different ways to gain victory points. So let's talk about those real quick. So for each dinosaur that you have in your park, you're going to get victory points equal to the printed number on the star. So for the dinosaur that comes printed with every game board, you'll get 1 victory point. So you'll get 1 per dinosaur there. And then, for example, like the Stegosaurus, for each Stegosauruses that you have bred, you'll get 2 victory points there. You'll also get 1 victory point for every 5 coin that you have, so you'll count that up as well. And then any additional victory points that are printed on like your attraction, so like the Raptor Nuggets, that's got a 1, so you would add 1 to that as well. So you would basically go through and add up all your victory points, and from there you would determine who the winner is. Alright guys, and that is how you play Dinosaur Island. It does look like a complicated game, but the designers did an excellent job breaking things down by phases and making sure that everything that you're doing during those phases are on a specific board. Some of the boards and some of the phases will overlap. For example, when you're purchasing the different species of dinosaurs in phase 1, you'll grab those and put them over in phase 4 board. So there is some overlap there, but for the majority of what you're doing in phase 1 is on phase 1 board. So they did a really good job there. So hopefully this gave you an idea of how to play. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comment section below. I'll make sure to get those answered as quickly as I can. Make sure you subscribe for more learning to play videos like this, as well as game reviews, unboxings, and things like that on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.